idea where that jingle is from.
It was unexpected.
Yes. So welcome everybody. NAV Real Estate Podcast, episode 3. Today we have our guest Luis. Luis has been with the brokerage pretty much since the beginning and has now taken over our coaching and mentorship program, but is also a top producing agent. So today we're going to get to know him a little bit better. And Luis, why don't you introduce yourself to the world, how you got started in real estate, maybe a little bit about where you're from, background, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bo. I appreciate you. Like Bo was saying, my name is Luis Briseño. I, got into real estate for a lot of different reasons, but the main reason for me was originally I wanted to always find a way to always help others in different ways, and I've done that in all the jobs that I've ever had. But originally I started because realistically all of the people that I worked with and I respected started it, and I really wanted to be a part of just a team that lifted each other up and that I learned from. And that was really the biggest reason why I originally started it. And but after I got started, I really started to realize the overall benefits of real estate in general and the importance of ownership, and that just drove me further to want to continue on with it. But the added benefit is I get to do it alongside people that I respect, so I'll take that as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I guess when we first met, you were a club manager at 24?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's something we've talked about on the podcast before. Gotcha. Is most of the brokerage has a background in fitness or worked at 24 Hour Fitness. And I think, you in particular, being a club manager, your leadership skills have really translated over into real estate. Maybe not so much selling properties, but I think within the team, and now doing the coaching and mentorship thing, I think that's really you've had this like awesome skill set this whole time, and now you get to use that. You're definitely someone that I've learned a lot from since we started the brokerage. So why did you choose to work here at NAV?
Well, originally, again, wanted to be around everybody that I already knew and respected. And we're talking about the leadership component, but one of the things that I found in the leadership side was that I always had a passion for teaching. And that was every single time that I got an opportunity to do that, whether it was in 24 Hour Fitness or my prior career, I really found that to be the thing that really gave me purpose and that really made me show up every single day. And I knew that coming to NAV, I would be able to have an opportunity to do that from the student standpoint, learning from everybody around me, and really being able to dedicate time to making sure that I got better myself, because I truly do believe before you can teach, you need to be able to do. So to begin with, I really wanted to focus on myself and say, if I'm ever going to be back in a leadership position, I need to be able to prove that I could do these things. And I knew that NAV was going to be able to give me that room to be able to just go ahead and be a top producing agent, and at some point in time be able to transition back to what has always been that passion of mine, is go into the teaching role. And fortunately enough, I was able to do that, and NAV gave me that opportunity.
Cool. So you kind of touched on this a little bit. When you first started, do you remember like what were your biggest challenges or the things that, the skill sets you really had to improve on?
Yeah, and it's funny. It's the things that I had to learn and really struggled with at the beginning was the things that I really harp on now whenever I'm teaching somebody or I'm onboarding a new agent. And I think first and foremost is, for lack of a better way to put it, is resilience. Right? Is being able to understand that you're not designed, and you're not going to always help every single person, every single client, every single lead. That's just not going to happen. But that you're supposed to help the people you're supposed to help, and if you do the right work, that's what's going to happen. But at the same time, we're all human, as am I, and getting told no the vast majority of the time, and learning how to be able to say, okay, I understand that, and just move forward instead of letting that affect your, not only just your day in general, but your overall work ethic and your resilience. I think that aspect is one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn as an individual, and I'd be lying to you if I said that doesn't still affect me from time to time. But taking that skill set and that I've had over the last few years to be able to then teach that and make sure that new agents, or even agents who have been here for a while but maybe aren't producing at the level they want to, is really understanding how to go ahead and do that. I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned. I think secondly of all is that I think Matt puts it the best, is our sense of urgency is not somebody else's sense of urgency, right? Just because we start in real estate and we're like, hey, I want to be able to come in, have some closings, do all that, and hopefully I'll be successful. That doesn't mean that the people that you meet have that same timeline that you, and being able to not only understand that, but respect that, and create a culture that we're here to help people on the timeline that they need, not what you need, was another big lesson that I had to learn, and was what I really ingrained into people, is like, our job is to help people regardless of hey, if it's 30 days from now, great. If it's 3 years from now, great. That's all that matters. And realistically looking at this as a long-term business, where you earn the referrals, you earn the repeat business, you earn people's trust in you, versus maybe the misconception that some people have of like real estate is somewhere to go make a quick buck.
Yeah.
Because if you come in with that mindset, you're going to come in for a rude awakening real quick. So like I think those two things are a lot of my North Stars when I'm talking to new agents, or I'm even just looking at it as myself sometimes, because again, I'm human and those thoughts come up sometimes too.
Yeah. And I think kind of like the point you're getting at there is like managing your own expectations.
Yeah.
Of like, I remember when I first started, right, I was expecting this and this to happen, and none of those things happened, right? And managing like waking up every day and knowing that no matter what happens, you're not going to let it affect you, or you're not going to get disappointed. Your expectations, you want to go in with the mindset of like, hey, I'm going to crush it today, but you might get told no over and over that day. You might have a contract terminate. You might, all these things can happen that can be very disappointing, but you have to keep moving. You can't let it affect you. Yeah. It's part of the business. And I think for like you touched on, for someone new, that's a huge wake up call. Yeah. And when we sit down with someone we're interviewing, and we ask them like, how do you feel about rejection? Which is an interesting question, and we kind of get into it, but you have to be able to be told no. This is a sales job. People are going to tell you no. No one bats 100, right? And sometimes you get told no a lot. And sometimes you're claiming a Zillow lead that costs a lot of money. A couple years ago, Zillow leads were a lot, and you had a $1,500 strikeout sometimes, and you just got to get back to the drawing board. I love what you said there. That kind of hits the nail on the head. Do you remember any advice you got when you first started that kind of helped, maybe get past a couple of those things, or help you to get better at those things?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was actually an agent that I was talking to one day that had been doing it for a little bit, and now I know the look But I apparently had the look of somebody who just took a beating, right? And he came over to me. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" I told him whatever story it was. It was something, right? The same old stories of like, I did X, X, and Y. I've done all this work, and then I got nothing, right? And it's funny. I respond really well to just getting called out on my own stuff, right? And all he said to me was like, it really sounds like you weren't working towards helping them and you were working towards having an outcome for yourself. And at that moment in time, in the instinct, I was like, well, this SOB. Well, I was like, you're right. I didn't. All I really cared about at that moment in time was I needed to get a result, right? I just quit my very stable job, right? Stable paycheck, everything. You know, my wife now, who was my girlfriend back then, had just moved back from San Francisco. We were living in this 400 square foot studio when she just moved back. So, you know, there was a lot riding on it, and I was like, I have to make this work. So it really set me up for disappointment. But really understanding and him calling me out and saying that to me really hit home for me that day. And all he said after that was, if you keep working for yourself versus for the client, this is not going to be the best place for you. He's like, I'm just being honest. I was like, okay, you're right. And it really reminded me of the old adage that I've always had in leadership positions or even in business is if you just do right by people, business comes. And you just, and that again, I say this a lot, right? But that's, if you just have some North Stars, it really helps out. And now I always think about that in myself. If I ever get disappointed in something, like, what was the reason I'm disappointed? Am I disappointed for the outcome that I wanted, or am I disappointed because a client didn't get the home that they really wanted? And I think I can be disappointed for that, but not for the former.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah, I have like a kind of a cheesy saying when it comes to running my real estate business, and that's my North Star is like, in 6 months after you close, I still want you to be as excited about this house and happy in this house, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if we work backwards from that, you know, they make a checklist of the 10 things they want. In a home, we try to meet all those things. You know, there's timeline, there's all these factors in a real estate deal. But the name of the game in the long run is like, if we are going to put our goals on the table, it's like, we want to run a business, right? And we want to get referrals, and we want everyone we work with to be excited about their experience with us and tell everyone they know what a great experience they had. And then we're going to get referrals, and our business is going to keep moving. But if you don't keep your clients' goals first, you're never going to have a successful business, right? And I think that's, you know, for agents that have been in the game a long time, I think it's easy to lose track of that, about keeping your clients' goals first. You think you know everything. You think, you know, they want to live in this neighborhood. Well, they're going to have to look at these houses, right? But at the end of the day, you know, I have clients all the time that, you know, maybe what they tell me what they want seems unrealistic, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to go out there and try to help them achieve that goal. You know, over time, they might realize that it was a crazy goal to get a house for $500K in Cherry Creek or something, right? Sure. But we'll go look at all the houses. You know, if they want to offer a certain price, we'll do it. And I think that's part of like just being in it for your client, which I think is what you're getting at there.
Yeah, exactly.
So now that you've been an agent for a while, and you've coached people for a while, is there any, like, outside of like the mentorship, just like maybe you're talking with someone who's struggling or just starting out, is there any particular advice you would give someone?
I mean, well, yeah, I actually do. You need to treat this like a job. I see it a lot. Where, and I've said this before, is like the one of the biggest perks of real estate is the flexibility. You get to you work for yourself, right? You set your own schedule, work as much as you want, work as little as you want. And that's a double-edged sword. And it's too easy to only work when you have work, if that makes sense, right? I'm going to work because I have showings, because I have contracts, because I'm doing something real estate related that I need to do, versus I'm going to get up every single day and I'm going to have a routine. Whatever that routine be, right? Whether it's I get up and I go to the gym, or I get up and I do, just breakfast, or whatever it may be. But the very next step after you do what you need to do for yourself is you need to show up to work. And the people that consistently have a routine and show up and do work, whatever it may be, follow up, marketing, etc., those are the people that eventually succeed, because you have the routine of working every single day, and magically it always works out, right? And the people that don't and just treat this like I'm going to work when I work, those are usually the people that I see that don't meet the goals that they originally wanted to, because they're not doing the day-to-day stuff. They go and claim a lead when they need business versus building a pipeline that pays off over time. I think that would be my number one advice overall.
Yeah, cool. It's like you're speaking to me right there. That's what it feels like.
Well, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, so you are talking to me. Yeah, that is some of the best advice that I've heard, and also advice that I continually give, because out of everything that I struggle with personally in real estate, it's exactly that, right? Staying in the routine, and it gets, the better you are at real estate, I think, or the busier you are, the harder it is to stick to that. If you don't have any deals, it's easy to wake up every day and get after it and grind and make your calls and do the thing. But if you have 5 contracts, it's easy to get distracted. And then, after that 5th one closes, you're sitting pretty, you made a bunch of money, but you haven't followed up for 2 months, right? You haven't generated business, you haven't did the things you're supposed to do, and now you're back at 0. And normally it's this kind of roller coaster ride of you're riding high, and then it's all fun, and then you're at the bottom again, and now you've got to get right back to it. And I think that's definitely, for me personally, the hardest part about real estate is just staying consistent. A big reason I got in real estate is to have free time and to travel and do those things. So I definitely, there's a couple of times a year where I've been out of town or something, and I come back and I'm like, oh no, I've got to get back on the grind. And, over time I've gotten a lot better at staying consistent with those things. But it's a never-ending battle, that's for sure.
It's for all of us.
Yeah. Some days you wake up and you want to go snowboarding or something, right? And it's are you gonna stay awake late that night and send some emails? Do your follow-up, as you can, and that's really that's great advice. Cool. So now you're doing the mentorship thing, the coaching thing. Kind of spearheading that department here at the brokerage. How's that going? Any things that you've learned or things you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, overall we're off the ground. So we originally came to the conclusion that we really needed a good system and foundation on how we were going to teach not only new agents but also existing agents as well, to be able to help develop them. So essentially I started out by creating a coaching program for our existing agents that if anybody wanted to go ahead and opt in, we could essentially partner them with one of our tenured agents who have been doing this for a while and are also successful in what they do, and have a proven track record. And what we wanted to do is have a very structured program that all the mentors would be able to teach in a systematic way that addressed the common needs that we see. So we launched it about at the beginning of the year, and we have a handful going right now. And I'm pretty excited about some of the preliminary results. Being able to see some people who maybe weren't doing what they wanted to do from a business standpoint now having some success with it, and kind of seeing that on a month-to-month basis now from the beginning of the year has been pretty encouraging. The other aspect that I've been working on is I've developed a brand new onboarding program that's a pretty structured program that's about 8 days long in total when you come onto the brokerage, 4 hours a day, and teaching you from the very start of fundamentals of the things that you need to know. But the biggest thing with it is I wanted to be able to focus on, all right, how do you actually go and get business? Because at the end of the day, that's what we need, right? And I think that the best experience that somebody can get, especially brand new, is just transactional experience. Because once you're in it, you have to learn because you're helping somebody out, and obviously that mentor's there to essentially guide you through the whole process to make sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and everything like that. So we've just started that out as well with the brand new program. We've had a handful of people also go through that, and we've seen some success. Somebody that just started about 2 weeks ago just called me the other day and was wanting to walk through the process of submitting an offer for a client they just met. So that's a pretty big success when typically on average we see 60 days until your first closing.
Yeah.
It was the average before. So we're seeing a lot of success with that so far. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Cool. So I have a couple questions. So when an agent on the team, say there's an agent on the team already that wants to get into the coaching program, maybe they're not hitting their goals. What does that look like, and how do you get them started back on the right path?
Yeah, so if somebody expresses interest, right, we start off by assigning them one of the mentors. Those mentors will then have a initial business plan meeting, and that business plan will entail essentially an audit of their business. We'll go through their CRM, we'll go through all the back end stuff to kind of start to pinpoint what exactly is going on. And what we've realized, it really comes down to a couple things. It's either the initial client acquisition or it's the follow-up. Those are the two predominant things that always come up. So, but with that business plan, we want to be able to find your end goal, whether that be monetarily or something that money will then allow you to do, right? Because not everybody's motivated by money. But once we have that goal, we work backwards and say, okay, so if you want to make, I'm just throwing a number out, $80,000 this year. Okay, based off our systems and practices, this is exactly how many leads you're going to need based off of X amount of average closing cost and average commission. With that, this is how many leads you're going to need, this is how you're going to need to convert, and this is how we're going to break it up over a 12-month period. After we have that goal and set, that mentor then has subsequent meetings with them that they set up to start the overall course program, which I call phase 2 of the program, which is the client acquisition portion. So we need to start getting you, as many leads as possible, and with those leads be able to reteach and re-educate you to be able to not only have obviously the best service, but also the best chance of being able to have that conversion number where it needs to be. So, but with that, people start to build a pipeline that they're able to go ahead and service them through probably a good 90 to 120 days. That 90 to 120 days, that's realistically what we see it takes to really start ramping up. And in that, you'll get subsequent closings, you'll start to build future pipeline. We teach them how to do proper follow-up. That way, that pipeline that wasn't ready in 30, 90, 60, 120 days, but is going to be ready in a year or two from now, that when they're ready, they're calling you. So that whole system starts to get put in place with one-on-one meetings, with monthly business plans now to hold accountability to those. And after that, what we really see, because we were talking about this earlier, you alluded to it, is the roller coaster of production. It's all great. everything's awesome, you're closing, and then you just fall right off a cliff. And now you have to start that whole process over again, and now it's 90 to 120 days before I get back up there. So our goal was, all right, how do we, instead of you falling off a cliff, you're just taking a little dip and then you're coming up. How do you do that? And that's with consistent client acquisition. But then we go into what I call phase 3, which is how do you become a productive and efficient agent versus a busy agent. Busy agents, again, just work when they need to work because they have contracts, they have showings, they don't have really a game plan on how to maintain a sustainable business. Productive agents do the opposite, and they do have that sustainable business. So we teach them not only on the time management skills side, but also show them how our resources that we have here will allow them to not only be able to help their current client roster, but also build a pipeline simultaneously, talking about our co-agency system, our showing agent system, that allows you to almost be in 2 places at once. But you can't learn that at the very beginning because you're just trying to get clients to begin with, right? So that's why I kind of put that at the second half of it. And then after that, with the constant auditing and mentorship from the mentors, you're able to kind of start to progress into how, okay, great, now you have a steady stream of business. How do we now make you more technically sound and as an agent? So now let's start working on your referral systems. Let's start working on your past client follow-up. Let's start working on you being a better negotiator overall, and all these different strategies that we have, which I think maybe in other training programs get put at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Why are you going to teach me how to go get referrals when I've never had a closing?
Right.
Right? Why are you going to teach me how to do a listing presentation when I don't even have a lead to go do a listing presentation to? So it's always been backwards. So I wanted to say, I need to get you in front of clients, and I need to get you closings and transactions before anything else. The rest we're learning as we go, and that's that partnership between the agent and the mentor. But overall, that's what we've started, and again, we've seen some success with it. So hopefully we're just going to keep building on that over and over.
Cool. And I think for any agent that's getting coaching, the process that you're laying out gets them paid a lot faster too.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who might have just quit their job or they've been in real estate and not doing very well. Yeah. Getting them clients quickly and getting them to a closing quickly is huge, right? And I think not only does that help their skill set, but it helps build confidence. And I think in this industry, like having some confidence when you're speaking with a client, right? If you haven't had a closing in 6 months and you go out to show a home, they're going to be able to tell that you need some money. You're going to be pushing this house on them, or not saying that's what you would do, but some people might do that. And
desperation shows.
Yep. The house is falling over, but hey, I think this is a great deal. Awesome. You touched on a lot there, which is huge. I used to really look at our brokerage model, and it is definitely an amazing place to work and be a top producing agent because of our profit share. If you're doing a ton of business, like I really don't know anywhere else where you can come in and you're able to make over 100% of your commissions. Yeah. You're able to really run an amazing business. But now that we have the coaching and mentorship too, and we have our Zillow system where you can come in day one, you've never done a deal before, and as soon as you're ready, after the first few days of learning scripts and doing the coaching program, you can go on leads and you can be out showing homes and writing offers very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. So we've really become this like well-rounded brokerage where it doesn't matter where you're at in your career, what type of business you want to run, you can do it successfully here, which I think is huge. Cool. That was an awesome rundown. So I've been, a couple more questions, and we'll wrap it up here. Anything you're most excited about for this year, for 2023?
I mean, overall, from the brokerage standpoint, to your point that you were just talking about, is I'm excited to really see that this experiment that we started years ago has really started to come together, and I can really say with extreme confidence that somebody who comes into our brokerage with the right work ethic, and I always say that, right back to, you got to treat this like a job. There is no reason why you shouldn't be successful. It's just there. The opportunity is there. We've proven it countless times now, not only with ourselves, but with so many agents who have come on with zero experience, sometimes even zero sales experience, and now are pretty successful agents. So that's exciting to me, that replicatable process is now there, that it just doesn't, it's no longer about, do you just have it innately in you to do this, but hey, so the only thing you have to have innately is just a sense of work ethic. Everything else, we got you. And that's exciting. That's exciting.
Cool. Yeah, you were mentioning this earlier, just like that ability for things to just kind of like water on a duck's back, right? Like let it brush off you. And I was thinking to myself, is that a skill set, that you have? Is that something you can learn? And I think you're right. It's, do you have work ethic, right? Are you willing to grind? Are you willing to have that white belt beginner mentality, right? Luis and I both do jiu-jitsu, and I've learned a lot from jiu-jitsu. It's very humbling, but I think in all aspects of life, if you can always admit to yourself that you're not the best, and jiu-jitsu does that very quickly. It's very humbling. But in real estate, you can always get better, and it's it's an industry full of nuance where things are always changing. I might think I'm the best, but technology changes tomorrow and now I'm not the best anymore, right? I've got to learn, I've got to get better. But going back to that skill set of it's almost like you have to have a skill set of like humbleness, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And waking up every day of like, what am I going to do to get better today? But what am I going to do to get closer to my next closing today? And sometimes you might go to sleep that night and you're a couple steps back from where you woke up that morning, or that's what it feels like. But you have to wake up the next day with a new clean desktop, right? And what am I going to fill my desktop with today? Am I going to meet some people? Am I going to claim some leads? Am I going to make those calls that I've been putting off for a week, right? Cool. So last question, and this is something that I've been kind of asking everyone is, what's the craziest thing or weirdest thing you ever saw in a showing?
I don't know if this is craziest thing. This is the one that sticks out of my head really quick. But I was showing a condo downtown, and I had two of my clients with me that I'd known for a while, and we'd been looking for a while. And we walked into this condo, and the note said, "Knock before you enter." So I said, "Sure." I knocked. Nothing. I was like, "Okay, cool." Opened up the door. Lights were off. Some certain smell was in the air. And I walked in, and sure enough, there was just this guy sitting on the couch with just his shirt off, just in his chonies, just chilling there, just smoking away. And I was like, "Hey, so sorry to just barge in on you. We had a showing. We can definitely come back, or what's going on?" He's like, "No, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and look around." And the entire time, he didn't say another word to us.
Really?
It was the most awkward thing in the world. We literally just scooted into every room, looked around. Okay, this isn't it. And I remember just leaving there, and my client, I could just see the look on my clients' faces. And I was just like, "So this is not the one?" And they're like, "Absolutely not." But it's just so... weird when there's just somebody there, whether it's a seller or just somebody, and they just don't leave.
Yeah.
It makes the experience so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You for sure are not selling that place. But there's a ton, but that's the one that sticks out in my head right now because I thought it was just hilarious and awkward.
hilarious.
It was just like pitch black. TV wasn't on, no music playing, just in the dark.
It's like he was
Smoking
just
away.
waiting on the showing.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Yeah.
like, oh, 10 a.m., time to light this up and
Yeah.
say hello. That's funny. Have you ever ran into like one, and this is not necessarily funny, but it's awkward if one half of a couple doesn't want to sell? I had a listing presentation over the weekend, and husband doesn't want to sell and wife does. So I met the wife at the front door and say hello. She's excited, yada yada. Gonna do my walkthrough. And about 5 minutes in, I like look over and the husband's like just standing there in the hallway. And I'm like, whoa, like it's like really startled me. And he's standing there with his arms crossed, like upset, right? And she had kind of given me a heads up, but not really. And he's like not in a good mood that I'm there, right? So I say hello, shake his hand and stuff, and like he like can't even like introduce himself. He's like real upset. And the rest of the time was like the most awkward feeling for me. You know, I'm not there with a buyer. It's just me by myself at this point, right? And every time we turn the corner, and he's out of like earshot, she's like whispering to me like, yeah, he doesn't want to sell, but we're gonna sell. Like he agreed to it. And it was just like the weirdest situation. Honestly, it was probably the most interesting listing appointment I've ever had. They had 4 dogs in the house, chicken coop. They had 2 people living in the basement, family members. The husband had gotten all of his guns out at some point and put them on the bed. So when we went into the master bedroom, there's like guns everywhere. And it was just like I honestly didn't know if I was gonna make it out of there for a certain portion of the time. But yeah, what you just said kind of reminded me of that, of just like someone's there that just really doesn't care about the real estate that's going on in the place.
And really think about, right back to the experience side of things, is if you wouldn't have had all the transactional experience that you have under your belt, and a new person would have walked in with 0 experience, they would have just shut down.
Yeah.
That thing would have gone nowhere. So back to that resiliency piece of like, nope, I'm here to do something. I'm gonna do it, right? Unless I get told to leave, I'm gonna do what I came here to do, regardless of what random things are gonna pop up. And I think that goes a lot to show for that experience side of things, because it's so easy for newer agents or to get thrown off. You know, you claim a lead, you show up to the appointment, and a van shows up and 6 people come out of the van, and that's your first time meeting this person. It's real easy to go, well, this isn't going to go anywhere, versus like, nope, I'm going to take this opportunity. And that only comes again with experience. So that's why we have to get people in front of people.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that also gets to like, you know, knock on wood, we're very safe in our industry as agents, because there's never been 2 days or 2 experiences that have been the same. And there's so many experiences where you're like, yeah, robot's not gonna figure this one out. Like, it's just, there's no way. And yeah, you know, even though it's tough and sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's hilarious, and it makes you feel good that you know, if you keep doing the right work, that you'll have a job for a long time. Which I think is something that we all think about, you know, often. But
yeah, I think again, you're talking about jiu-jitsu, right? Is one of our coaches told me a long time ago, was like, consistency over time equals results.
Yeah.
And you're not, you know, you're gonna get tapped out every 5 seconds when you just start out. But if you just keep showing up, and keep doing the work, it'll all work out, and it translates right to real estate. That resilience.
Yeah.
Just do the right work, and it always just works out.
So I thought jiu-jitsu was helping us with but maybe real estate helped us with jiu-jitsu.
I already know how to take it in the teeth. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fail.
This isn't gonna bother me at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, if I get tapped out by the black belt, I'm gonna learn how I got tapped, and I'm gonna make sure that doesn't ever happen again. And it's same exact thing in real estate, right? You make a mistake, you learn from it, you keep moving forward. Cool, man. Well, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. We'll get you back in here in a couple months. Check in on the coaching mentorship program. I know we've got some new people coming on the team, and I'm excited for this year and what's to come. Thanks everyone for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video soon.